Saludos a toda la afición de Lucha Libre Online. Este que les habla es Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de LLO o Lucha Libre Online. Y tenemos el enorme privilegio, gente, de presentarles a nuestro invitado especial en la tarde de hoy. Ex campeón mundial en pareja de WWE, ex campeón mundial en pareja de WCW, el hombre con la derecha más peligrosa en la industria de la lucha libre y en WWE. Unos lo conocían como Chuck. Él es Chuck Palumbo de West Warwick, Rhode Island para el mundo. Mr. Palumbo, it is an honor for us to have you as your guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, sir. And I wanted to start this interview asking you, how did your passion for pro wrestling started?
You know, what's funny is in the beginning, I never really had a passion. I knew nothing about the business. I'd never watched wrestling. I think I was familiar with who Hulk Hogan was. You know, that was a household name in the 80s, obviously. But I saw an ad on TV. I saw an ad on television during, I think I was final exam week when I was in college. And there was an ad on television for the WCW power plant. And at the time I knew I was playing college basketball. I knew I wasn't going to play in the NBA. But when I saw that ad for the power plant, I was like, well, you know, I'm an athlete. If I can make money for a few years as an athlete, let me see what this is all about. And it really just started with flying myself down to Atlanta for a tryout, making it through the tryout, being invited back to the camp, and training at the camp down in Georgia, the power plant.
Perfect. If you allow me, I'll translate. ¿Cómo comenzó la pasión de Chuck Palumbo por la industria de la lucha libre? En un inicio no había una pasión. Sí conocía figuras como Hulk Hogan, pero todo comenzó cuando él vio un anuncio en la televisión del WCW Power Plant, el antiguo centro de entrenamiento en Atlanta, Georgia. Entonces él toma la decisión. Él estaba jugando baloncesto colegial en aquel momento dado en la NCAA. Él dice, tal vez no llegue a la NBA. Y directamente voy a darle la oportunidad a esto. Entonces viaja a Atlanta, Georgia, allí hace su tryout y le brinda la oportunidad de ingresar al mundo de la lucha libre. So how did you got eventually signed by WCW? Who contacted you? Even though you were in the power plant, it doesn't mean necessarily you would ended up going to the roster. So how did that opportunity happen?
You're absolutely correct. There's no guarantee with that. Honestly, I was very naive. When I saw that ad on television, it said, you want to be a wrestler? Here's the phone number. If you make it through the tryout, there's a chance in 6 months you could get a 6-figure contract. Ooh. So I heard that and I went for it, right? But it was 7 or 8 months before I actually got a training contract with WCW. So that was a big deal at the time. Wasn't a lot of money, but more than I had ever made. And then they sent me over to New Japan to get a little more experience. And I was actually over in New Japan, and I was over there for maybe a couple of weeks. And they had, you know, reached out and said, hey, we'd like to give you a contract. Why don't you stay over here? And I said, well, I'm kind of obligated to WCW. I'm on a training contract right now. And I think it may have, I don't remember who called me when I was in Japan. It might have been Terry Taylor. I don't remember, but they said, hey, you're going to be coming back and working with Lex Luger in an angle, eventually going to a pay-per-view. So that was it. Signed a deal, and I was off and running.
Perfect. If you allow me, I'll translate that. ¿Cómo llega Chuck Palumbo a la WCW? Menciono que en un inicio, siendo parte de ese Power Plant, no necesariamente tienes un espacio garantizado. Chuck dice que fue un poco inocente porque él vio el anuncio que decía, ¿quieres ser luchador? Ven acá, en 6 meses vas a tener un contrato de 6 figuras, o sea, de $100,000 o más. Y entonces él llega allí con esa inocencia de que eso va a pasar directamente. Ingresa al Power Plant y estando allí como a los 7 u 8 meses llega la oportunidad entonces de firmar un contrato de entrenamiento con WCW. Y ellos le dicen, ok, queremos que adquieras más experiencia, y lo envían a New Japan Pro Wrestling, a Japón, al otro lado del mundo. Allí entonces hace un tour de varias semanas, y estando allí, Terry Taylor posiblemente es quien le da la llamada y le dice, ok, queremos trabajar contigo, queremos que vuelvas acá a Estados Unidos y comiences a trabajar un programa o un ángulo o una historia con Lex Luger, que eventualmente iba a llegar al pay-per-view. How did the perfect event happen, since we're already on that topic, and how was working with someone like Sean Stasiak?
You know, I think that was Vince Russo's creation. Um, I think I had finished that angle with Lex Luger. And I think Sean had come over from the WWF, and they decided to pair us up. I don't know if there's any reasoning behind it. I think it was more or less just to get us out there, working together, get us out there and get us some exposure, get us on TV, get our characters developed. You know how it is in the business. Sometimes there's never really any rhyme or reason on why things happen, right? It could be a last instinct thought that night of television, you know, a few hours before you go live. You just never know. So I'm not sure, but I think it was just a matter of getting us out there.
I'll translate that. ¿Cómo ocurre este equipo que todos recordamos de The Perfect Event entre Shawn Stasiak y Chuck Palumbo? Dice que fue una creación de Vince Russo, pero no recuerda específicamente cómo ocurrió. Sabe que Shawn Stasiak estaba llegando de WWF en aquel momento a WCW, y entonces surge la oportunidad, él dice, y lo que es algo muy cierto, pudo haber ocurrido a último segundo o a último minuto, hora antes del evento, pudo haber ocurrido con un tiempo de planificación. Realmente no tenemos una garantía de cómo fue que ocurrió, pero eventualmente terminó ocurriendo. You were part of a pretty particular era that was the Monday Night Wars. How was the backstage ambience on WCW back then? And as a performer, do you feel extra pressured by the circumstances surrounding you?
I'll tell you, it was a great time to be in the business. I'm sure a lot of the guys will agree, probably maybe the best time to be in the business. Very interesting dynamic going on between WWF and WCW. Personal pressure, I don't think, you know, obviously, you know, the thing is, I learned on TV. I really did. I was very green when they put me out there. I didn't have a lot of experience. Psychology wise, I did not have a lot of experience. Storytelling wise in the ring, I did not have a lot of experience. So for me, I was just trying to learn and survive and stay afloat. We were very fortunate at the time that they were looking for some new faces, wanted to change it up. And I go back and think about the Natural Born Thrillers group and those guys. And we just, you know, they put us out there and we learned out there and we got an opportunity. I never really felt the pressure of competition between the other brand. I'll be honest with you, I really never watched the other brand or paid attention to it, so I didn't know. I was having so much fun just being a young man on the road with a lot of older veterans and learning the business. I mean, I had so much fun just traveling and making a few dollars and being part of something that was huge. So I was having fun.
I'll translate that. Le pregunto sobre los Monday Night Wars y cómo se sentía para él estar en esa posición y si se sentía con presión o no. Chuck nos responde que él no veía el producto de la otra empresa de WWF, él simplemente era un muchacho joven, ganando buen dinero, disfrutando lo que hacía, era feliz haciendo lo que hacía, y él dice que esa época era posiblemente la mejor época para estar en la industria de la lucha libre por diferentes motivos. Pero que en aquel momento cuando lo ponen en televisión, él realmente aprendió en la programación televisiva, en el transcurso, porque estaba muy verde, he was green en ese punto, pero con el tiempo fue mejorando la situación y aprendió de los mismos veteranos que lo rodeaban. A thing is making your debut in the televised program of WCW Nitro, but another complete different thing is getting the confidence from the writers and the whole staff and putting a title belt on you. How do you feel the first time you won the WCW Tag Team Championships? What was the first thing that went through your mind?
You know, the fact that they were giving us the opportunity, because when I look at a belt, when I look at a championship title, I look at it as an opportunity, number one, and then number two, a prop, right? A prop to enhance the talent. So yeah, I felt it was nice to know that the writers, you know, felt strongly about us at the time. And, you know, it was more exposure. You know, it's for a young guy, you know, I was in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, for a young guy to be out there on TV. Back then, this is pre-internet. So, you know, obviously now everybody's on TV, right? It's a different world. You got the internet famous world, right? Back then, to be on TV was a big deal, especially, you know, I come from humble beginnings, small town, you know, so it was, I was just excited to be out there.
I'll translate that. ¿Qué se sintió para Chuck ganar su primer título en pareja? Él dice obviamente que los escritores y que los directivos confiaran en él. Para eso simplemente se sintió increíble, que fue un momento para reforzar y darle un boost a su propia carrera y a su propia exposición, pero que tal vez en estos momentos por el internet no se sienta tan grande, pero en aquel momento estar en la programación televisiva, estar en televisión, era algo enorme. Él venía de un pueblo pequeño y entonces tener la oportunidad de exponerse y de estar en esa posición simplemente era algo sumamente positivo para su vida. You were part of the last episode of WCW Nitro, retaining actually the WCW Tag Team Championships against Mike Awesome and Lance Storm. What do you recall of that day?
There was an eerie feeling throughout the locker room. I remember Shane McMahon coming into the locker room and pretty much telling us, "Hey, we're taking over. It'll start tonight." I want to say in the gorilla position, we had a couple of faces from WWF. I can't remember his name at the time. One of the Briscoes was in the gorilla position. It was weird because people weren't telling you much. People didn't know much as far as the talent went. So it was weird. It was fun though. It was fun. We had a lot of fun. I think we wrestled Lance Storm and Mike Awesome, two fantastic guys. I learned a lot from Lance Storm. Great man. Yeah, just an eerie feeling. And because we didn't know what was coming. We didn't know if that was our last day or our first day with the new company. We really didn't know.
I'll translate that. ¿Cómo se sintió para Chuck estar en ese último episodio de WCW Nitro? Él recuerda que fue una sensación como de incertidumbre. Llega Shane McMahon al camerino y básicamente le dice a todo el mundo, mi gente, ahora estamos tomando control de su empresa. Y entonces tenías uno de los Briscoes, si no me equivoco era Jerry Briscoe, que por lo general era el que estaba en Gorilla Position, que estaba allí. Y esa sensación de incertidumbre, de preocupación, de no sabemos si es el primer día en una nueva empresa o es el último día de nuestras carreras, que esa es una realidad que muchos enfrentaron. Pero sí se enfrentó a Lance Storm y a Mike Awesome esa noche. Fue una sensación buena, habló muy positivamente de Lance. Y lo que nos lleva, de hecho, a nuestra próxima pregunta, which leads us actually to our next question. How do you manage that transition to WWF? What was your impression the first time you arrived to an official WWF locker room?
Yeah, so that was interesting because in the beginning, they didn't use us for a bit. I remember I would keep in touch with JR on a weekly basis, I think, just to tell him what I was doing. And because a lot of times myself and little Rey Mysterio, we'd go down to Tijuana and wrestle down there on the weekends and stuff like that, or other places in Mexico to keep busy. So I would keep in touch with JR, but then I do remember the first time going to WWF TV, what stands out in my mind, I guess, would be the day that we walked into the catering where the WWF guys were already seated, you know, eating and stuff. And it was they were very standoffish, you know, not all of them. A couple of the guys were friendly, but I remember Hunter, Paul, he was friendly. But I remember a lot of the guys were kind of standoffish. And yeah, there was I guess you could call it a bit of drama in the beginning. Because, you know, here's the WCW guys, the competition coming in and to WWF's home. And it's funny because if the guys were all smart about it, they would have befriended us. They would have befriended us a lot quicker and probably would have changed the business. You wouldn't have seen such a downfall in the business, I think, if the talent had stuck together right off the bat. But they fell right into the trap, and the next thing you know, it's us against them, you know. So it's unfortunate, but it's you know, it's typical, right?
I'll translate that. ¿Cómo fue esos primeros días en WWF? Bueno, al principio no los estaban usando. Él tenía que comunicarse por teléfono con JR todas las semanas. Él estaba trabajando en México, que ya mismo vamos a eso, en Tijuana, junto con Rey Mysterio, y lo llaman y le dicen, ok, te toca venir. Entonces, el primer día que llega allí, le toqué la catering y habían personas que estaban, obviamente, con esa actitud, crecidos, orgullosos, tratándolos un poquito hostil, tratándolos mal. Por el hecho de que eran los invasores, venían de otra empresa, como que nosotros ganamos, pero hubo personas amables que sí le dieron la mano y se hicieron amigos de ellos rápido, como Triple H mismo, Paul, los trató muy bien, fue muy amigable. Pero él dice que es algo muy cierto, cuando llegaron allí, si ellos tal vez hubiesen generado una amistad más rápido con los muchachos de WWF que estaban con esa actitud, hubiesen cambiado el negocio y hubiesen evitado una decaída en el negocio tan grande como ocurrió. You mentioned something that was actually going to be a little bit further in this conversation, but I wanted to talk it now. Mexico, that's a pretty particular territory you've been. How was your experience wrestling in Tijuana in front of the Mexican audience?
It was fantastic. Mexico's always been probably outside of the U.S., certain cities in the U.S., you know, the southern states. Outside the southern states in the U.S., I would say Mexico is probably my favorite place to not only wrestle but vacation too. I love Mexico. Great crowds, fun crowds, loyal crowds, loyal fans. So yeah, I had a great time. Wrestled a lot in Tijuana at the Auditorio de Tijuana. And then I did go to Mexico City a lot. I worked, this is a while later, I want to say like 05 for a little while. I think I spent some time with CMLL, did some shows for them. I can't remember if it was AAA or CMLL. I think it was CMLL in Mexico City with Johnny Stamboli and some of the other guys. Del Rio, I think at the time, was over there under a different name. But yeah, Mexico City, especially Arena Mexico. I mean, you guys know that place that's fun.
That's the cathedral. I'll translate that. ¿Cómo fue la experiencia de Chuck en México? Él dice que además del sur de Estados Unidos, México es su lugar favorito para luchar. Luchó en México, en Tijuana, es su lugar favorito también para vacacionar, pero también luchó para el Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, el CMLL, en Ciudad de México, en la Arena México con Stamboli y el resto de los muchachos, y obviamente fue una experiencia muy positiva. Going back again with the WWF, what's your opinion on the way they worked the whole alliance thing, and how was that experience for you? Because that could have been something so interesting, but instead it got so weird at the one point that nobody understood what was happening.
Yeah, I think you explained it to a T. I don't believe there was any rhyme or reason to why things were written the way they were written. It was very, very, very unfortunate. It could have been such a big deal. You know, the Natural Born Thrillers, most of the guys who came, there's a few of us who came over, but those guys who came over, I mean, they didn't, you know, WCW was trying to push us. You know, Vince could have taken us and continued that, but they kind of put the brakes on everybody, even the bigger names. It could have been so much more. But, you know, it's funny. A lot of this business is a mystery, unfortunately. So we don't know why certain things happen. So really, I can't explain why things worked out the way they worked out. They made no sense to me. Why would you kill off characters that are already developed? But then again, you know, Vince is one man, right? He's got a lot of guys working underneath him, but there's a lot of different minds there. And a lot of different personalities, a lot of different opinions. So I can't tell you that answer.
I'll translate that. ¿Cuál es la opinión de Chuck sobre The Alliance? Él dice que hay cosas que él no entiende por qué ocurrieron como escribieron, cómo ocurrieron, cómo escribieron las cosas y toda la cosa, porque le pusieron, porque él dice que lo confirma, le pusieron los frenos, los brakes a muchas de las personas creativamente hablando y por qué trataron de hacer lo que hicieron con nombres grandes. simplemente es como las cosas ocurren en la industria. Pudo haber sido algo mucho más grande, pero lamentablemente se decidió hacer otra cosa. Fast forwarding a little bit in time, you were part of a particular tag team in WWF, and I'm talking about Billy and Chuck. How did that idea happen? And for you, how did you felt, you know, portraying what you had to portray at that point?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I had a lot of fun. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I have nothing against gay people. They're humans just like us with a different preference. I didn't take it personal. They gave me an opportunity, and I figured, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. And I think Billy felt the same way. And yeah, you know, it's funny because I remember, I want to say it was American Airlines Arena. It might have been a Monday Night Raw. It might have been early afternoon that day. We're at the arena. And I can't remember who had told me, whether it was Vince or Hunter. I think Sergeant Slaughter was involved a little bit with the conversation. But basically, they told me, hey, you guys are going to be this flamboyant tag team. You're going to have platinum bleach blonde hair. You're going to wear robes. And we were like, okay. And they were like, well, you're going to be doing it tonight. And at the time I had, you know, dark hair. Like I said, this was probably early afternoon. And by showtime, we were to be platinum blonde. So it was interesting. But, you know, we had a lot of fun. I want to say we may have been the first wrestlers, Billy Gunn and myself, to be in Time magazine. Wow. I want to say we were on in the New York Post or the New York Times, the Today Show, Howard Stern. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of exposure, had a lot of fun, and it was easy. It was easy. And it's funny because a lot of times the things that are so successful are very simple and very easy. But going back to why it was developed, cable television network ratings week. That's what it was all about. I believe they wanted to develop the characters and have them peak during ratings week with the wedding, obviously for ratings. And it worked. I want to say we were rated #1 that night, the wedding night. And as you saw, it disbanded very quickly after that, which again, from a personal standpoint, unfortunate, because those characters, I don't know if people realized how over those characters were or how over those characters would get. I remember walking down the ramp to the ring, and there would be kids dressed up like us, wearing the bandanas. So, I mean, and we were supposed to be heels, I think, originally, and we turned out to be crowd favorites. So you never know how things are going to work out. But yeah, a lot of fun. Billy Gunn, obviously everybody knows, guys, probably one of the best tag team technicians of all time. So here I am working with, you know, again, still relatively new in the business. Here I am working with him. He taught me so much, just about the business in general, and then about business inside the ring. So, yeah, it was great times. And honestly, I wish the character would have lasted longer. And you know, it's funny because, you know, some of the boys and some people, some of the guys I knew outside of wrestling were like, oh, you know, why are you doing that character? And, you know, why would you do that? And at the end of the day, we're wrestlers. They're actors, right? I'm not saying we're the greatest actors, but we're actors playing a part, right? Is that who we are? No. When we start to live our gimmick, usually it's a problem anyway. But yeah, we're actors, and we're given a part to play, and we play it to the best of our ability. At the same time, we're getting paid to do it, paid very well. So we had a lot of fun.
I'll translate that. Billy y Chuck nacen como una idea, como él dice, obviamente no tengo nada en contra de la comunidad gay, al contrario, son personas igual que nosotros, con preferencias diferentes, pero simplemente fue una posición extraña en donde lo pusieron. De repente Vince McMahon, Triple H y Sergeant Slaughter le dicen, ok, tenemos esta idea de tener este equipo flamboyant, como él dice, exótico, con el pelo rubio, platinado, las bandanas y todo diferente. Y ocurre este cambio en donde Chuck tenía el pelo negro y had dark hair, como él mencionó en aquel momento, y hacen ese cambio y ese mismo día le ponen bleach en el pelo, se lo ponen platinado, cambian toda su imagen y boom, nacen Billy y Chuck. De momento están en Times Magazine, fueron los primeros luchadores en salir en Times. De repente están en el New York Post, están en todos los programas, en The Today Show y en todos los programas más importantes estaban ellos allí involucrados. Y obviamente el propósito era los ratings, era elevar el rating, era crear algo distinto para que las personas miraran el producto, y les funcionó porque estaban número uno en aquel momento. Originalmente estaban pautados a ser heel, pero la gente les tomó tanto cariño que tú veías a los niños cuando ellos bajaban con la rampa con las bandanas en la frente, los veías vestidos como ellos, aplaudiéndole, y cambió, y entonces eran babyface. Y él dice que trabajar con Billy, que es uno de los mejores luchadores en parejas técnicos de todos los tiempos, fue algo increíble. Él dice que se les pudo haber sacado mucho más porque estaban demasiado over, estaban bien calientes, they were really hot en ese momento, y pudieron haber sacado más, pero lamentablemente no se aprovechó. Fast forwarding a little bit in time, you got out and part of separate ways from WWE, then returned to WWE, but you weren't what you were before. We saw a biker, a badass biker, with this mad right hand, doing completely different things that he was doing before. How was that experience? You know, having the opportunity to reinvent yourself and coming back to the company.
It was a good opportunity. You know, I had been into Harley Davidson since, you know, forever. So it was really not, you know, the image, I won't say the character, but the image really wasn't far from how I lived outside of wrestling. Very much into the motorcycle culture. The character started off, it was fun. I got a little push with it in the beginning, and for whatever reason, it faded out. You know, maybe they felt it wasn't getting over strong enough. Maybe they felt that I wasn't getting over strong enough. I get it, it's business. But I had a lot of fun. It was brief. It was only a couple of years with it. Actually, not even a couple of years with it. Think about it. From what I can remember, I signed back with them, and I sat at home for a while. And then by the time they actually started doing vignettes and put me out there, I want to say a good 6 months, 7 months had already gone by. And then I felt like they were pretty strong behind it in the beginning, and then it kind of fizzled out. But and the storylines got distasteful at the end. They had me kind of, you know, beating up on girls and stuff like that with that storyline with McCool and stuff like that. But it was fun to get to do that. I mean, you know what was cool about that character? So we had motorcycles in every town, right? At times I would get to the arena early. I would jump on one of those motorcycles and I would go cruise around that city wherever we were. That was one of the things I enjoyed about that. But yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I wish it could have went from a personal standpoint. I wish it could have went further. I thought the character was strong enough to you know, get into it with some of the top level guys, but it just never did.
I'll translate that. Tuvo la oportunidad Chuck de partir de la empresa y volver con un personaje completamente distinto en esta motocicleta, en esta motora, con un guante, con el pelo negro distinto, y en un principio recibió un push increíble. Entonces posteriormente comienzan a hacer otras cosas con él. Él piensa que se pudo haber hecho mucho más con el personaje de lo que se hizo, y de enfrentarse a nombres más grandes de los que se enfrentó. Tenía el push, tenía el respaldo del público, pero simplemente tomaron otra decisión. De las cosas que más le gustaba del personaje es que siempre tenían una motocicleta en cada uno de los pueblos que iban, y él se trepaba en la motocicleta y guiaba y conducía por todo el pueblo a explorar un poco, que era de las cosas que más le gustaba. Pero al igual que eso, aprendió mucho, tuvo la oportunidad de de ser otra persona completamente distinta a las que ya había sido. Al final la historia terminó un poquito confusa y no era lo que querían, pero pues fue lo que fue, vamos a decirlo de esta manera. I also want to say something else in Spanish. Pueden seguir a Chuck Palumbo en Instagram como @Chuck Palumbo en Instagram, y su canal de YouTube para todo el mundo que quiera aprender de cómo reparar motoras, de autos y de todo un poco de esta dinámica de su vida real. Pueden ir a Chuck of All Trades en YouTube para toda la información. And that's actually my next topic. How do you manage, you retired, I believe it was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, in wrestling, do you ever really retire? I think my last match in the ring was probably, maybe 14.
Maybe 2014. And how do you manage to enter into this new chapter of your life? You have a YouTube channel and you're doing a lot of stuff at the same time. You're extremely busy. So how did that opportunity happen?
All the things I've been doing on YouTube, I've been pretty much doing my whole life. Long before, I got into wrestling kind of late for my age. I was mid to late 20s when I got into wrestling. So I had already had a background in automotive. I was an auto body painter, a full-time auto body painter by the time I was 19. Then I was in the Navy for 4 years in the U.S. Navy. I was an aviation mechanic in the Navy. I had grown up in the car restoration business. That started way back when I was a kid. So I knew cars inside and out. Same with motorcycles. I knew motorcycles inside and out since I was a kid. So it's something I've always done. And then when I got the opportunity to wrestle, I never thought I was going to be a 20-year, 25-year wrestler. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, if I, can make some good money and get out and do what I want to do. I don't know if you can still, did you lose me for a second?
We're here. We're still here.
Okay. So if I can make a few dollars and get out and do what I want to do, which is play with my cars and my motorcycles and build houses. That's another thing too. My dad was a carpenter, so I knew a lot about houses. I built my first house, I think, when I started making some decent money in WCW. I bought property, built my first house, developed some other properties, built some more houses. So this is something I've been doing my whole life. Wrestling was actually a very small part of my life in comparison to all the other stuff I do. But it, the great thing about wrestling is it gave me some exposure and it gave me some credibility outside of wrestling. So it brought on a lot of opportunities. Like, I was able to do the television shows with Discovery. I've been able to dabble in real estate, construction, obviously cars and motorcycles. It just, wrestling, just kind of enhanced and opened up opportunities for the other things that I was into.
I'll translate that. Chuck of All Trades es su canal de YouTube, pueden todos suscribirse ahora mismo. ¿Y cómo ocurre este proyecto? Es algo que él ha estado haciendo en toda su vida. La industria de la lucha libre es algo pequeño en su vida en comparación con todo lo que ha hecho. Tan pronto él empezó a trabajar en WCW, él compró una propiedad, compró una casa, comenzó a restaurarla. Estas son cosas que él hace en su canal. Siempre le ha gustado trabajar con automóviles, con carros y con motoras, motocicletas. Su papá también hacía esto y es algo que siempre ha llevado en la sangre. Entonces esto es algo que siempre ha hecho toda su vida. Simplemente ahora tiene la oportunidad de mostrarle al público lo que está haciendo, de ganar buen dinero haciéndolo y de mostrarle al mundo que además de luchador, Chuck puede hacer muchísimas cosas en su vida. Chuck, we thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation. Always wishing you success in your career and in your personal life. And thank you so much for everything.
All right. I thank you guys very much. I thank everybody out there who took genuine interest and wants to watch me do an interview. I appreciate that very much. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate you letting me share my stories.
Gracias, thank you. Y fueron Chuck Palumbo y Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online, la marca número 1 de Pro Wrestling y Combat Sports en español.